Greetings, all you outsiders out there. I'm Duuz-Diz-Din, and I'm coming at you with a review of the final episode of Young Justice Outsiders. Young Justice's Season 3, Episode 26, titled Nevermore. Now, this is in fact the longest running episode of Young Justice, although that's like only by a few minutes or so, but it still stands to reason that, yeah, this episode was jammed packed with so much, and I should tell you, this review is going to be fairly long, if you're not noticing by the time frame below, but honestly, trivia, knowledge, all that good stuff. I'm coming at you with it. So if you want it, stick around, grab a snack, enjoy, have a good time because I know I will. Talking about this stuff is my bread and butter. Not really, but regardless, let's get into it. Now, we open up with Black Lightning showing up at Oracle's place, where I'm just like, does everybody know where you and Dick live? But whatever. She was expecting him, and with the reports of Bedlam taking over Markovia, he knew that eventually Brion would go after him to stop him, and he just wants to know how Brion is doing and what the plan is. He wants to a little bit in on the game plan. We also end up seeing that because Lex has basically bordered off the whole situation in Markovia to any form of outside interference, the League, as well as Batman Inc., as Black Lightning still calls it, is unable to go in and really do anything. But the Outsiders are a different case, as they've gone in using the biochip in order to infiltrate and get the situation under control. You have Gamma Squadron, led up by McGann, who will be going in, just to kind of provide a certain type of backup, specifically taking out Double X, and the fact that he's, getting ready to execute a lot of the supporters to the old regime of Markovia. Meanwhile, Beta Squadron, led up by Nightwing, will be going in and trying their best in order to rout off Bedlam. And Alpha Squadron is also going in order to just the primary force in trying to take down Bedlam. They're going to try to rout him and capture him and rescue Markovia from his tyrannical reign, with Geoforce leading this squadron. And while Jefferson is, very much interested in how things are going, how she's honestly keeping Batman Inc., the Justice League, all of them appraised as to the situation, he does kind of question what else Barbara has going on. Because there's always an angle and there's always some form of secret going on here. We also see that Lex and Deathstroke are keeping the Light appraised of the situation, since this is kind of their little baby here for the most part. And the whole idea is to have, take over this whole situation, show the weakness of the outsiders and all that good stuff, and raise the profile of the Lex's own team of superheroes, Infinity Inc., in order to get them under the government control, show them that government-controlled superheroes are where it's at, and the registration behind them in order to get all the metahumans registered and under the control of the Light. Meanwhile, we also get to see that the League, Batman, all of them are, on Earth. They're watching things, keeping an eye out just to make sure that things don't go terribly south. But Vandal does mention that they will end up having to sacrifice Terra in order to get what they want. Having a metahuman teen show that she's out of control, killing a certain member of the Outsiders in order to just show how they were unready to actually take on this task. Which, Deathstroke thinks is a, a lofty sacrifice. It's very necessary. So she commands Terra to take out Beast Boy, leader of the Outsiders, which I love how that kind of came full circle, despite the fact that they don't have that same connection in this series. Terra is still been tasked with taking out Beast Boy, who, she doesn't have that same connection like in other continuities, but it all comes down to Terra and Beast Boy in the end, in order to kind of pop off this whole situation with the, showing metahuman teens were always unready to take on this kind of responsibility. So Beta Squadron boom tubes in using Violet's abilities to confront Baron Bedlam, only for Count Vertigo to step in, allowing Bedlam to escape for the most part. But as Baron Bedlam goes to escape, he's confronted with Alpha Squadron, who have come in and to take him down. And we see that Terra is actually able to pull him towards her using her own ability. But Bedlam proves to actually be fairly competent in terms of combat, as he clashes with Geoforce, and all of this ends up being televised live from Markovia, because it's all about the media, baby. That's how you really control things. The realm of public opinion is a savage one, but Jefferson, seeing this, ends up calling into Cyborg that they have a bit of another mission underway for the two of them. So as Terra, Victor, Beast Boy, and Brion do their best in order to combat Baron Bedlam, Baron Bedlam actually ends up breaking Beast Boy's arm during the process of all of this. But, Terra starts to kind of put Baron Bedlam on the ropes for the most part. Meanwhile, Gamma Squadron manages to rescue all the captive supporters of the old regime and take Double X into custody. Whereas with the situation with Count Vertigo, thanks to a well-timed throw from Nightwing, they're able to take him out and have Artemis and Violet go chasing after Alpha Squadron in order to give them a little bit of a help. As more and more members of the League and Batman Incorporated show up just to, watch things go down, because this will shape how the world sees heroes for the foreseeable future, which, the Light is very much hoping for. But as, Geoforce manages to capture Bedlam and starts just beating him for his country, for his parents, for everything that he's done, Brion gets ready to actually execute Bedlam, knowing that Bedlam will never stop no matter what. But come on, this is the Light's plan. That's why they freed Bedlam, in order to have him basically be the fall guy. Maybe that's why they allowed Brion to be run free during that whole situation in Antisocial Pathologies. But Garfield does his best to talk Brion down, saying, look, the Outsiders weren't meant to be judge, jury, and executioner. We're here to serve justice, to do the right thing, and what you're about to do is far from it. And, but Terra on the other hand is contacted by Deathstroke and is told this is the time, do it, execute Garfield. And she full on gets ready to do it at first, only to be talked down by Artemis, who says that Terra does not have to do what Deathstroke says. Much to the shock of both Deathstroke and Luthor, who thought they were on a circular channel, wondering how she's able to know what they're up to on the other line. But when Terra questions how Artemis knows about any of that, how long she's known, apparently Artemis has known the entire time, which shocked me for the most part, because I'm just like, what was it that tipped them off? What was the thing that did it? At what point did they learn that she was not what she seemed? And we come to find out it was when Batman infiltrated Santa Prisca. It was from the jump, even before they even met up with Terra. he noticed from Deathstroke's micro expressions, which, my god, the bullshit abilities they give Batman. But I mean, it's a thing, it's an actual thing if you're able to notice these kinds of things, and Batman would. He noticed that Deathstroke was lying about Terra washing out from the whole goings on with the League of Shadows. And so she's just like, look, we wanted to give you a choice, an option to not do this, to not be under their control, to actually think for yourself and be something better. But Deathstroke tries to override it. You have the angel and the devil on the shoulder. They're telling her, no, ultimately they'll betray you again. They'll let you down. They're not trustworthy. But Terra takes a bit of a moment and she thinks back to everything that's gone on. The fact that they risked their lives to save her. The fact that, they've been mentors to her, friends to her. Everything that's gone on that she's been through. Ultimately, they gave Terra the choice from jump. They were willing to trust her judgment and allow her to see what it meant to be family. To have something more, something better than what the light was offering her. And ultimately Terra chooses. She takes out the earpiece from Deathstroke and throws it to the ground, embracing Artemis, wanting to just be forgiven. And I love this connection here because, yeah, of course, I like the fact that ultimately, in the end, it was Artemis who brought Terra over. Because unlike in other depictions of Terra, this is something she's never really had. In the Teen Titans, in the original comic book series, she was just this angry young girl who only ever had Deathstroke, and of course she went along with it, but, she was still just mad with her power, and she was uncontrollable, and it led to her own death later down the line. In Teen Titans, she had this want for control, she became obsessed with it, and was willing to go to some dark places in order to get that. And it just continued to corrupt and distort her way of thinking until, she kind of was able to regain herself towards the end, only for it to mostly be too late. And even in Justice Teen Titans Judas contract, still that angry young girl, but she felt like she owed it to Slade because he was there for her. He rescued her. But at the same time, the Titans were also trying to be there for her. She was a confused and scared little girl. And here, they're actually acknowledging it. She's young. She's confused. She's scared. She was put in a dark path and was manipulated by this older guy who got in her head. And what she needed that she never had in all those other depictions, because all those other times, Terra was just presented as being alone. But here, she had a mentor in Artemis who understood her because of her time with her father's sports master. She knew what it was like growing up or being more or less molded by someone just like Deathstroke. And she also had her family. She has Gregor. She has Brion. Those two things that in other depictions she almost never has. She has friends, she has family, she has loved ones, and she has a bright future ahead of her. And I am so glad the team went in this direction with her character because it's something that I haven't gotten to see yet. Even in the New 52, despite the fact that unlike other depictions where she dies at the end of her story, she's out there, she's living. She became a little bit of an agent of Deathstroke for a little bit, but she kind of went her own way. But honestly, that's all they ever do with her. They just make her another agent of Deathstroke. And here, they're going beyond that. They're allowing her to find her own path. And I'm so grateful for that. But Cyborg also is grateful for something, getting the earpiece in order to gain him access to the light. With that access, Victor is able to patch in none other than Black Lightning to more or less call out Lex, and giving them complete and utter access to a lot of files and documentation that Luthor was handling. So basically, Luthor is busted and Black Lightning got to give him a bit of a curtain call for the most part, quoting the Raven and everything. I just love this moment. It's been a long time coming. But Geoforce is a little less accepting of this. Finding out that all this time that Terra had been an assassin, a killer, a spy, and so many other people knew about this, that she had still been working with the light behind their back, betraying them. Geoforce is furious. But interesting enough, in comes Bad Samaritan, and I will continue to call him Bad Samaritan. I know that his actual name is some other BS, like, what was it, Zavid Bazov? But no, he's Bad Samaritan, and I'm going to call him Bad Samaritan. He's led all these people just up in order to present their king, well, their true prince, and to see that Baron Bedlam has been captured for the most part. But this little bit of a distraction with all the people, Baron Bedlam takes the opportunity to try to cut and run, only to be captured once again by Brion. And after Bedlam makes it very clear that he will continue to try to take the throne as long as he draws breath. Brion stops that. He makes sure that Bedlam will never draw breath again in a pretty brutal manner. I mean, I know that more or less this is almost like gargling water for Bedlam, but still, it was an uncharacteristic turn which really just took me by surprise. And yeah, everyone else was shocked by this as well and seeing this. And Bad Samaritan announces to the people he's done it. He's killed the king. Long live the king. More or less declaring Brion as the king of Markovia. As more people, more of Brion's allies show up to see what he's done, and his brother Gregor is just shocked at, that Brion would even be capable of something like this. Brion tries to justify this, saying that no, it had to be done. He wouldn't have stopped. He would have just kept going. It had to be done. This was the only way, but and he even tries to call out Terra. Terra shouldn't be judging him, because she kept alive. She was an assassin. But Artemis snaps back. No, she was brainwashed. She was a young child who was put in a vulnerable state, and she can't be held to the same standards as you just killing an unarmed opponent, a subdued opponent. But Tara, no. Tara, she understands better. She knows that she did her actions of her own free will ultimately. She made the decision to continue on with the shadows. And she feels that Brion and her should turn themselves in for the crimes that they've committed. He admits that she killed, who was it, Marlowe? Or that one dude? From that kind of first appearance. Yeah, Jacques Marlowe. Well, she killed him, but she wants to repent. She wants to serve her time to actually show that she feels repentant and bad about what she did. But Brion doesn't want her to compare that to what he did. He is the hero of the people now. He did what had to be done, at least in his eyes. He felt it was a necessary evil. But, Superboy says, no, that wasn't the way. That was, you just outright murdered a person. That's never an option. That's not the way we do things. But, Bad Samaritan whispers in Brion's ear and says, well, ultimately, aren't you all hypocrites? Don't you just constantly have half measures? Even Brion calls them hypocrites because of the fact that they had a murderer in their midst. But, this was, he sees what he did as a justifiable necessity. He, killed the man who plotted the murder of his parents, who plotted the murder of all of them, who caused all of the pain and suffering. And Bad Samaritan says, look, I loved your brother. He's a good king, but We need a king for these trying times. In times of metahuman growth and unrest, he's not strong enough for what needs to be done. But you are. The people need a king and a hero. Something that Brion, all the way back in, what was it, episode 2? It was 1 or 2. Even he stated that's what his people needed, a king and a hero. And so Brion takes to the throne, denouncing his brother, saying that, you need a real leader. You need someone who can protect you and guide you truly. And the people start chanting for Brion. They want him. But, Terra snaps back saying, no, you can't betray your brother like this. You can't betray Gregor like this. She begs him not to do this, but Brion, snaps back saying, oh, like you betrayed us? Like you betrayed the team with everything that you've done? And Gregor can only hang his head in shame for what his brother has done. And Brion gives Terra one last chance. He offers her immunity to anonymity, to pardon her actions, basically, should she choose to support his rule. But Terra cannot. And even when he, tries to call out to Violet to rule by his side, she knows this isn't right. She knows this wasn't the way to do things. So Gregor simply demands that Nightwing takes his team and leaves Markovia, as they are no longer welcome here. What a load of BS. What an absolute crock of shit. Like, even watching this, I'm just like, yeah, no, none of this adds up. None of this adds up. This was such an extreme turn for Brion's character that I just could not see it. He's had anger issues before, but not this way. But at the same time, there were a lot of things that kind of tipped me off, that there was something shady about this whole situation. But, everyone just kind of ends up mourning this whole situation. What's become of their friend, and how none of them could have guessed that such a terrible thing would happen. With even the older leaders of the group kind of feeling that it was their fault. They made the choice to... They thought they were getting through to Brion, and they feel like they failed because of this situation. But Lex, while Deathstroke, he feels that, the situation with Terra was unfortunate. This was ultimately a catastrophe, but the situation with the young prince kind of pulled things out. Lex kind of feels like, no, it was a pretty good situation. One of the outsiders executed a man and overthrew a government all on national television. Well, honestly... global television, whatever, worldwide television. So he feels that this is a good opportunity to start to kind of undermine the outsiders and bring his own Infinity Inc. rising to the top, showing off that ultimately metahumans must be regulated by a specific organization. And so Black Lightning and Cyborg end up going to Congress in order to show evidence of everything that Lex has been involved with. The shady dealings, how he's had involvement with metahuman trafficking, the whole shebang. They put Lex on blast for everything that has happened leading up to the whole situation. And as the people actually start to kind of side with the League, with the heroes, that, maybe that Lex should resign as congressman, whatever, his position in office. And the people really start to kind of turn against Lex for the most part, seeing him for what he is. But Lex, in a very Republican manner of speaking, I guess you could say, starts to kind of call out that, it's fake news, it's all, lies, it's ultimately just liberal thinking and blah blah blah. They are really making him a stand-in for, right-wingers and Trump's world. But calling the whole situation a sham and a disgrace and blah blah blah. Lex is full on trying to discredit all these accusations and rumors, but he's got a little bit of a situation when Superboy stands in front of the United Nations, and much to Lex is coaxing that maybe Superboy doesn't want to go this route. Superboy confirms a lot of the accusations against Lex, saying that he is a clone using both Lex and Superman's DNA. And if they should choose, a blood test will prove that he was made illegally for weapon purposes and to potentially even replace Superman if in the future should the need arise, much to the glee of the Genomes, who feel like this is finally the first step towards creating a better future for them all. And with that, Garth calls for Luthor to step down from his position and no longer be an acting member of the United Nations. And with that, Lex, Secretary General, I was about to say that, but it didn't seem right. Lex, as Secretary General, has to step down and resign from his position as an ongoing investigation proceeds into his dirty dealings. And we even find out from Barbara that Troia is in line to be the next Secretary General in Luthor's stead, which delights Grayson for the most part. And we even find out that with all the positive PR for Heroes Everywhere, her dad has even decided to put back up the bat signal, much to the cheers of the populace of Gotham City. Meanwhile, the situation with Tara has its ups and downs, as Tara has been put on probation for all of her crimes when she was with the League. They decided that she was not under her own will and she was not doing things of her own volition, so she has been turned over to the custody of her brother, the exiled King Gregor Markov, and she will serve community service with the Outsiders. It's a bittersweet situation for Tara. She will be doing her best to kind of, sidestep a lot of the whole murder thing, but she wants to repent, and that is the best way to do it. Just the want to repent shows that you are on your first steps towards being forgiven at some point. Kind of helps that Marlowe wasn't really that great of a guy anyway, so whatever on that side. But we continue to see Bad Samaritan whispering into Brion's ears, wanting him to accept the continued guidance of a specific person, none other than Helga Jace. Which, man, I gotta tell you, before I was kind of feeling like, okay, something's not quite right about what Brion did. I know he's an angry MF, but just straight up killing in cold blood the way he did, something ain't right about this. But to accept Helga Jace back into his council? No. Absolutely not. No way. That stuff in Antisocial Pathogens where Ultra Humanite and who else was it? Luthor or something were saying that, we were never going to give Jace both Brion and Tara. They're too important to our plans. Yeah, nah, it's pretty damn apparent. It was pretty damn apparent that they were up to something with this, and even more apparent when the Light meets and convenes in order to discuss the recent events, with them being happy that ultimately Brion has taken over Markovia, feeling that's for their best favor. It's unfortunate that Luthor has to deal with some legal allegations, but with their newest member of the Light, they're sure things will work out. Namely, Bad fucking Citizen. Ooh, and to find out he has low levels of telepathic manipulation. Not so much full on mind reading, but he's able to influence people's emotions and actions, showing why Brion actually ultimately did what he did. He was being manipulated. He was able to rally the minds and the hearts of the people. It's why the whole situation in Markovia was such a powder keg for the most part in terms of how they saw superhumans. Why Bad Samaritan was always seen whispering into people's ear. Never would have guessed it because he doesn't have powers like that in the comics. He was just an espionage dude for the most part. But this is some, should have known. There are metahumans just coming out the yin yang. And to see this just solidifies that Brion needs rescuing for the most part. And I hope in season 4 he gets it. Meanwhile, Vandal talks things over about the situation with the Light. Since now they have Markovia under their thumb, the situation with the Apocalypse needs to be addressed. Where Vandal did go in order to meet with Darkseid about his movements towards possibly superseding where they were at. They ultimately decided that Granny failed them both, and they renewed their promise to work together until the end, and at that point they'll try to fight it out over who should get control over the galaxy. But Vandal is no fool. He knows that Darkseid will continue looking for the anti-life equation, and the Light will need to be prepared for when that day comes. That's set up for season 4. That's set up for season 4. And, poor Violet. She continues to sulk about the fact that she's more or less lost the best thing towards her, Brion, but what can she do? But the Light also feels that Halo is someone they really have to keep an eye on, as she might still prove to be a necessary part in Darkseid's plans and a thorn in the Light's side, as Nightwing has called together a certain meeting. We have a meeting of the various different members of the whole coalition, for the most part, of the members who are off-world, with Guy Gardner reporting in with the various Green Lanterns, Hawkman and Hawkwoman, Magog, who, Magog, really, he's part of the Justice League. If you don't know who Magog is, he was very pivotal in the role of, what was the comic line? Kingdom Come? I think it was. And he's just this character who kind of straddles the good and evil line for the most part, but hearing he's part of the Justice League took me off guard. But Elongated Man, as well as, there was some other, Martian Manhunter is also there. So he's there on the Javelin with all of them, the off-world people who are dealing with the situation out in space. Metamorpho is coming live from the Bat Cave with the Batman Inc. and all them, Green Arrow, Green Arrow, Arrowette, Orphan, Spoiler, and Katana, Batwoman, Hardware, a lot of the people who kind of ran off with Batman during that situation with the League and all that good stuff. And in the Watchtower, we have a multitude of characters. I had to kind of edit this image just in order to get all the characters together, because it was this big sweeping shot, and I think the edit turned out pretty good. But you have in the background Artemis kind of trying their best to comfort Halo, as well as Tara. Victor is still buddying up with Fred Bug. I think Zatanna might be mentoring Tracy 13. You can see the relationship issues with Magan and Connor not standing very close together. Tim looking woefully at Cassie as she's chatting it up with Beast Boy and Kid Flash. Man, Tim really got the short end of the stick dick during the course of all of this. Not to mention how Ollie is looking at Diana and she's very disappointed in his whole role and all of that. We didn't really address a lot of these, emotional situations. Like Ollie and Diana too. It's just like, man, they must have a lot of things to talk about. I really could have used more Green Arrow during the course of this season as well. A lot of missed opportunities in terms of what we were building towards, but we were trying to build up Brion, Halo, Forager, the situation with McGann and Connor, Victor, Tara, as well as Artemis going through her own thing. Like we were juggling a lot of balls here, and not to mention the whole side story where Garfield came to the forefront of things. Like we had a lot going on here. So the fact that a few characters fell by the wayside, I'm not even surprised. But hopefully season 4 amends a little bit of that. But, they've called in basically everyone who has ever been a part of any form of the team. And with one last person they were hoping to come in, Black Lightning, as he felt like it was the right thing to do to still come in and hear out what Nightwing had to say. As Nightwing was actually surprised that everyone actually came in to listen after everything. Nightwing has more, and Batman even goes on to say, like, you have more clout than you think. You govern more respect than you think. And that's always kind of been true. Even in the comics, people really do respect Nightwing. But ultimately, Nightwing calls out that he asked for this meeting because, he wanted to address the fact that they've been hiding the secret, how they've been trying to use the Light's own tactics in their favor, and they've ended up going behind people's backs, betraying to their friends, lying to people, doing all this shadowy stuff that ultimately didn't really work out too well. And Aquaman even says, like, yes, it's true, we were misguided in what we were trying to do, trying to protect people from things that they should have had the choice in wanting to be protected from. And so Aquaman steps down as co-chair of the League, and so does Wonder Woman, as well as McGann from being leader of the team, feeling that because of their role in all of this, they might be unfit in terms of leading, as they feel that they've chose the wrong path in things. They allowed themselves to compromise their morals and beliefs in order to try to win. With Nightwing feeling that someone needs to step forward as a leader, someone who has a great sense of morality, a great sense of leadership in what is right and wrong in the world, a great sense of justice. And that is why Nightwing nominates Black Lightning. And Wonder Woman seconds the motion. And the entirety of everyone present declares that they would be happy to have Black Lightning as their leader, much to his surprise, as he doesn't really want any part in all of this. But Connor says, you might not want this role, but we need you to take this role. After everything that Jefferson has been through over the course of this season. And that's what I was kind of wondering for the longest time. Why are they putting Jefferson through all of this? From that moment where he killed that one kid and, he felt so devastated by it and he stepped down, but then he went off with Nightwing in order to try to do some good and to help some kids, and the whole fact that he wanted to be a positive role model and everything. It just, the real question of just, where is it going with his character? What are they trying to do with all of this? And just that 1-2 combo of your friends are lying to you, your new girlfriend is lying to you, oh, everything is terrible. But to try to bring out that ultimately he still has moral principles. Yes, he ended up being tricked and lied to, but that was because he ultimately just wanted to do what was right, to play his part right. That's why it hit him so hard, because he always wants to do the right thing. And Jefferson ain't playing around. He calls out to Batman, "Are you okay with this? I need to know if you are in or out on all of this, because there will be no, if I take this, there will be no sneaking around. There will be no skulking in the shadows. There will be no going behind my back." And Batman even declares that, "Look, should you choose to take this, I will understand and I will roll Batman Inc." I'm so glad he calls it that. He says, "I will roll Batman Inc. back into the team and the league, and I will defer to you, because ultimately, if it's for the good of the mission, I will choose to just, go this route." And that's a ringing endorsement from Batman. I'm so glad that even throughout all of this, Batman carries that kind of weight in all of this, because it's just like, yeah, no. Black Lightning knows that should Batman not be a true part of any of this, it shows that he will go about undermining everything that they do. But to hear this from Batman is just like, oh yeah, you can't say no to that. You cannot say no to that. And even Nightwing says that, "Look, I will I will roll back into the league. The outsiders will roll into the league and the team. We will do things your way. We will try to do things the right way. Because the way we did things, it didn't work out. It just caused more hurt feelings and just a really terrible time for everyone." So Jefferson accepts, and he calls out to everyone that, this happened because we kind of lost our way. Good people choosing to do bad things because they felt that there was no other option. And he even quotes people, mentioned people who were at one point were trying to do the right thing, but ended up shifting into bad practices in that pursuit. People like Black Adam, Vandal Savage, Ra's al Ghul. At one point, they were trying to do the right thing, and they fell into doing the wrong thing in that quest. They fell into hurting and lying and deceiving people. And that's not the way they want to go about it. They don't want another situation like with Brion on their hands. Brion wanted to do good. He wanted to do the right thing. And that's why he ultimately chose to do what he did, because he thought it was the right thing. But compromising your morals, being judge, jury, and executioner is not the way to go. We are about justice. We are about doing what's right. And he says that they will keep the team open and alive, not just for Black Ops missions, but to show young heroes what needs to be done in order to be true heroes, to be members of the League. Now, he feels that he wants to take a page out of the Outsiders book, out of Garfield's book, that they need to be out and in the open, to be that positive role model, to fight for what's right, to advocate for justice and helping people. Gar, you came through, man. I never would have expected Garfield to really just be the shining beacon of honor and, good in the world, but he's come a long way. And Jefferson says, look, we need to be better. We need to strive to be better, never compromising our morals just in order to get that win. Even should we lose, we should do so because we wanted to do what was right. We wanted to uphold morals and standards in order to be the best that we can be, no matter what. And so we get a news report of how things are basically going on in the world, where the Outsiders have been publicly joined by Forager, Superboy, and Terra. And with a little bit of a talk with McGann and Connor, where she starts to kind of feel that maybe he might want his ring back. Maybe they might not want to be together anymore because she doesn't feel good about having him feel these things towards him, to not trust in her and not trust in her judgment anymore. But Connor also kind of feels bad because he dredged up old feelings, old problems, old hurt. She's not that person. She wasn't trying to be that person. She wasn't trying to abuse her power. And he never should have, put that on blast because of that. And he also asked for her forgiveness. And they make up. They make up, and they're able to just work past this because ultimately they love each other, and that's the way it's going to stay. And we get a bit of a montage where a lot of other characters' personal missions have kind of come full circle. Grayson has accepted that, that he wanted to be in that leadership role, but not really at the same time. His whole conflict from season one, that he didn't want to be Batman, he ended up kind of just being just that, being Batman, with the lies, the deception, the running around, and all that good stuff. Hell, even Batman had to take a closer look at what he was becoming and the reasoning behind what he was doing, why he was doing what he was doing, and Barbara putting him on blast the way she did. All they had to confront their innermost selves, and that I'm glad they did that. That shows a lot of growth for their character. And the whole situation with Eduardo and Wendy finally deciding to take off her collar, feeling that she's finally ready to start using her powers for good, to actually learn how to control it and become something better. The fact that Victor has returned back to school and is now standing up for those he would never have stood up for before. No longer turning that blind eye to those in need when he saves Cisco Ramon, the hopefully future Vibe, from Ron Evers. He's actually willing to be that hero, to do what needs to be done, no matter the cost, no matter the sacrifice to him personally. And Fred coming into class at Happy Harbor and revealing himself to be Forager, to actually wanting to expose himself to actually, trying to increase better relations between humanity and those who are not of humanity, much to the delight of the various students. And, I'm glad to see that Harper Row is still attending classes. I'm glad to see that Tara is still smiling. And it's unfortunate to see Violet still kind of reeling from the fact that Brion has turned his back on everything. Meanwhile, Infinity Inc. has come in order to offer their services to the new king of Markovia, flanked by some duplicitous advisors. And so, Black Lightning's story has really just come a long way from where it started at. I never would have guessed this is where things would have ended for him on season 1, but it's a good place to end things. It just really shows how much he's grown, developed, and had to overcome in order to reach this point where he can smile and feel good about how the future looks. And as everyone, well, a lot of the families and stuff are meeting in the diner. Raquel, Rocket meeting up with Zatanna and having a little bit of a time. Calder with his boyfriend Wyden. They're at Bilbo's diner, where a lot of superpowered people are always accepted. Wills and Artemis still taking care of Leon, Dick, as well as Barbara still kind of meeting up and all that. Basically everyone who was on the old team for the most part, and their loved ones. Everything has really shown that they, for the most part, while things weren't perfect, they managed to work things out together. And oddly enough, the one person out of place is this waitress, wearing this very interesting ring. The ring of the Legion of Superheroes. Oof, time travel, baby! Oof, it has to be Saturn Girl. It has to be Saturn Girl. Blonde hair, it's totally Saturn Girl. I will stake my lunch on that. But a phenomenal conclusion to this episode, as well as a bit of an unfortunate one, as it's in memory of Michael Lehman, who was one of the what was it, animation timers for the series. A very pivotal part, just making sure that scenes, work out pretty well. So it's unfortunate to see a passing like this, but it's a part of life. But gone but not forgotten. We also get a nice little after credits moment where we see that missing appendage of Lobo has fully grown into whatever this is. I was expecting Slobo, but not quite. And thankfully this abomination is put out of its misery by the main man, quick, fast, and in a hurry, as he also burns the remains, which it's unfortunate they chose to go out on this joke, because I'm like, yes, Slobo, the little Lobo, and all that good stuff. But then again, we also now in the comics have Lobo's daughter, Crush, who I'm kind of thinking that would be even better than Slobo, because, well, Slobo didn't work out too well in the comics either. He was a fun little aside, but it just didn't work out too well for the little guy. But Crush, on the other hand, Crush has been a fun addition to the comics, and I really can't wait to see what happens in season 4. A phenomenal season. I'm so glad there's still going to be more. I would have been mad if this was where we ended things, like, brought it back just to leave it on another what might happen in the future. How dare you? But with this, I can accept it. The machinations of Darkseid continue on, and the fact that the Legion of Superheroes person, well, someone with a Legion flight ring, has shown up as well, proves that the future is brighter than we could have ever hoped for. But a great ending, a good ending, very good. But it's unfortunate Brion went the way that he did, and I'm really hoping they're able to free him from the control of Bad to Samaritan, the Light, and Helga Jace with her crazy self. But, hey, tell me your thoughts and theories for the next season in the comment section below, and tell me how you felt about this season. Did you enjoy it? Did you hate how it ended? Were you expecting more? What characters would you have liked to see have more screen time? And what characters do you feel were utilized the best and utilized the worst in terms of this season? My money's on Tim Drake. Could always have used more Tim Drake. He had a few good moments to shine, but I would have loved to see more about his team. Not to mention, we also have the fact that from a little bit of the information on the next season has also kind of trickled out in terms of season 4, and it's basically the fact that they want to kind of be a little bit more in. They wanted to double down on the season 1 characters that the fans love. So how they kind of did things for the main cast of characters here, where we had that whole episode where, Dick was flashing back to how the things used to be and all that. So apparently we're going to see a little bit more of that in season 4, as well as Greg Wiseman saying, hey, there's going to be another time jump, which I don't know how much longer it's going to be, because we got kid versions of, Jonathan Kent as well as Damian Wayne, so we'll have to see where that ends up going. We have a lot of storyboarders, and we got Christopher Jones, who worked on the Young Justice comic book, coming back as a revisionist. But aside from that, the fact that they'll focus on a smaller core group of characters is good, but at the same time, there's some of the newer characters I would also like to get to know a little bit. So a little bit of give and take on that. We'll just have to wait and see. It's 26 episodes as well, so hopefully we'll get season 5 as well. But again, tell me your thoughts, theories, and feelings in the comment section below. If you like this super long video, leave me a like in the comments. If you didn't care for it, feel free to leave me a dislike. I'll understand, because I droned on and on and on and on. And if you sat through all of this, hey, more power to you. Love you. I love you. And subscribe and hit the bell icon, because I'll definitely be bringing you more Young Justice reviews when season 4 comes out. And until the next video, just remember that, quote the Raven, nevermore. You will never more see these bad feelings that this would be the end of the series. You'll have hope. There's always more to come with such an amazing series. Until next time, I'm Duuz-Diz-Din, and my mouth needs a rest. Weird as that sounds. Until next time, bye-bye.